Um, okay, start.
So, good morning, everyone. We are the assigned reporters for this topic, Asian literature. Wait, let me mute my mic first. Please start.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Chamberly Abelera, and um, we are the assigned group to report about Asian literature. Okay, so what is Asian literature? Next slide, please. So it says here that primarily it is the literature of Asian countries written by Asian authors. So this encompasses the literary works from various parts of the continent. We have texts from Russia in the north, the trio of Chinese, Japanese, and Korean masterpieces from East Asia, Arabian works from the west, masterpieces from countries like India, Pakistan, and Nepal in the south region, writings from Kazakhstan and its surrounding countries in Central Asia, and the stories from countries like Philippines, Indonesia, and Thailand in the southeast. So Asian literature is diverse in that it showcases a selection of styles and themes, but as it progressed over time, common ideas have been identified between the texts from the various regions of the Asian continent. So perhaps the most similar trait of all Asian texts is their religiosity and spirituality. Asian literature is known to be a philosophical and contemplative art, pondering on major matters in life, such as our origins and our death, where we came from and where we go, how we come alive and how we die, and as well as how we should live in between. So, next slide, please. So, what are the characteristics of Asian literature? The most common styles in this type of literature are poetry or verse and dramatic prose. Asian poetry is typically lyrical, as in it deals with the grand scheme of emotions. A subtype of lyrical poetry is the ode, which we can see in some religious texts. Asian poetry is also usually formed in narratives or storytelling, verses like epics, and there are collections of short stories, legends, orally transmitted sayings, and dramas. So kung makabantay mo sa Asians, when they make poetry, they tend to make it more lyrical para hindi siya paminawan, and they usually write it with their heart, which makes it very emotional and also touches the audience's feelings and emotions. And about the third bullet, this means showing an intensified sense of power, well-being, and importance. And the fourth bullet means that I know that we are all aware that Asians are full of stories, usually legends and myths, which are believed to be existing during the elderliest time. So I think this is very common to Asian countries because if you also read some of their texts, they also have collections of stories and legends. So next slide, please. Why study Asian literature? The first, Asia is one of the largest continents and it encompasses a diverse population with a long and extensive history. Then their literature also reflects the similarities in their customs and traditions, struggles and successes, even their philosophies in life, giving the rest of the world a better understanding of Asian culture. So this is hugely important, especially to Western people in the past, since they did not know a lot of Asia, much less its people's ways of living, due to their geographic and cultural distances. So the difference between Western and Eastern culture manifests even until today. However, Asian literature brings their people's lives straight from reality to the pages that then take their stories into the hearts of others worldwide, where they somehow find a common ground of shared experiences. So, Asian literature goes to show that despite the distance and differences, we are all connected through the tales that we have in common with each other. Not only does Asian literature give us an original take on people's experiences, but it also contributes to our collective perception of life through the morals and philosophies that their literary pieces embody. So that is for my part. Thank you. Wala din may kuan kanang questions about the part. So I guess there are none. So I'll give the floor to the next reporter. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, so good morning everyone. I am Rhea J. Alaban and I will be reporting about Confucius. So, Confucius is the most famous teacher, philosopher, and political theorist whose ideas have profoundly influenced the civilizations of China and other East Asian countries. So, Confucius is also known in China as Master Kong. So, Confucius was born near the end of an era known in Chinese history as the Spring and Autumn period, 770 to 481 BCE. His home was in Lu, a regional state of eastern China in what is now central and southwestern Shandong province. Confucius believed that all people and the society they live in benefit from a lifetime of learning and a moral outlook. Confucius is known as the first teacher in China who wanted to make education broadly available and who was instrumental in establishing the art of teaching as a vocation. He also established ethical, moral, and social standards that form the basis of a way of life known as Confucianism, in which he is the founder. So, here are some of the most famous quotes of Confucius that still ring true today. So, life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. Wherever you go, go with all your heart. Everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. So, additionally, the five classics are Wu Jing and the four books or Sishu collectively create the foundation of Confucianism. The five classics and four books were the basis of the civil examination in Imperial China and can be considered the Confucian canon. So the five classics consist of the Book of Odes, Book of Documents, Book of Changes, Book of Rites, and the Spring and Autumn Annals, while the four books are comprised of the Doctrine of Learning, the Great Learning, Mencius, and the Analects. Next slide, please. The famous philosophy of Confucius is Confucianism, which believes in ancestor worship and human-centered virtues for living a peaceful life. So the golden rule of Confucianism is do not do unto others what you would not want others do unto you. Next slide, please. Rules of the game. So Rules of the Game is one of the most popular stories which form part of Amitan's 1989 book, The Joy Luck Club. So the story is about an 8-year-old Chinese American girl who teaches herself chess and becomes a child prodigy, winning many national tournaments. The story is narrated by Waverly Place Jong, a Chinese American woman who recounts her childhood as a young Chinese daughter of immigrants growing up in the United States in the 1950s and 1960s. Jong is named after the street where she lived in a flat above a Chinese bakery, but she is known as Mei Mei, meaning little sister. Next slide, please. Rules of the game is also like many stories in the Joy Luck Club. about a daughter's fraught relationship with her mother. Rules of the game also is cleverly double-edged, ostensibly referring to the game of chess and its rules, which are explained by Vincent when Mimi first begins playing it, but also suggesting the game of life. Rules of the rules of the game was the germ of what became the Joy Luck Club. It began life as Endgame, a short story of Tan wrote a short story Tan wrote in response to an article she read in Life magazine about young Chinese Americans. Rules of the game is about the conflict between two different generations of Chinese women from the same family. Next slide, please. So the next slide will be reported by James Earl.
The Sleeping Giant. Um, so China is known as the Sleeping Giant. They was once called the Sleeping Giant because China have a terrifying and great potentials yet to be developed. So, said by Napoleon, China is a sleeping giant. Let her sleep, for when she wakes, she will shake the world. She will shake the world. This was 200 years ago. This statement means let China remain unconscious toward her social, political, and economic development. China was under an ideology that seemed to have enslaved the country. It was the Qing dynasty at that time. A Chinese cultural ideology is the one that binded the country against leveraging its potential for national success and global recognition. And then in the recent time, China woke up, and we all know how powerful China is now, how they were able to annex the population to its advantage, and how they are powerful socially, politically, economically, and culturally independent. So, in Chinese literature, a Chinese literature brief background. Because Chinese literature was written in a formal language that is called classical Chinese. The Chinese literary are fiction, philosophical, religious works, poetry, and scientific writings. So writing in China dates back to the hieroglyphs that were used in Shang Dynasty of 1050 and then 17 BC because BC Chinese literature is vast that spans thousands of years, and this called classical Chinese writing is very complex because of each of these works based mostly is a collection of era or dynasty, like another 100 years, another 300 years na napod sa another work or literature work. So ang ang language na nagamit dira na ay some changes. That's why some scholars have difficulties in translating or reading the classical classical Chinese. So these are the four great Chinese classical novel. The Journey to the West, Outlaws of the Marsh, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Dream of the Red Chamber. Written language wasn't the vernacular language even 2,000 years ago. The empires and groups of kingdoms of all these eras were composed of speaking many different languages. If Europe had a literary history like China, it would be as if most European writers until the 20th century always tried in ancient classical Greek that became a dead language more than 2 millennia ago. So this is my references. The next reporter.
So, good morning everyone. I am Shir Alcantara and I am assigned reporter for the Thailand, which is the land of smile. Next slide, please. So, Thailand, the land of smile. So, Thailand is often referred to us as the land of smile. So, it got this nickname because in Thailand, a smile is much more than just a smile. So, nga gitawag man siya og land of smiles. So Thailand has somehow become synonymous with smiles, and there must be good reasons why it has become known as the land of smile. So the Thai smile has some reasons behind it, and it allows one to express a range of emotions without physically or verbally taking action. So the Thai smile is a form of communication capable of tempering confrontation, easing difficult situation, and showing one's appreciation. So, if tanan ka makabalo, unsay reason ang ilang smiles sa Thailand, kay the next slide will be kuan masya na siya og different smiles that will give an idea. Next slide, please. So, the different smiles of Thai smile, a smile of a Thai person. So, the first one we have is Yin Tam Nam Dam, which is the emotional smile. So, kanisha, this smile has a double meaning. It could be I'm happy outside, but I'm crying inside. And it could also be I'm so sad inside, but I'm still smiling. So, the second one we have is Yim Tang Tai. Yim Tang Tai. So, kanisha, so this smile that enables someone you don't know that well you don't know that well. So the third one we have Yim Chun Chung, a smile or the admire you smile. So this smile express the world that you admire a person or proud ka na niya. So the fourth one we have Pun Yim. So this is the stiff smile. So kaning the stiff smile is somehow related to fake smile. So number five, we have Yimi Lisanay. This is a devious smile that makes bad intent. Or we have the weekend smile, the weak smile. So we have number seven. Number seven, we have Yim So the I don't care smile. So kaning Yim is this smile is equivalent to suggesting that it's not worth getting upset over something that seems pretty bad that has happened and you can't do anything about it. So we have number eight, the Yim Sao. So the Yim Sao, which is the sad smile. So kanisha, this is the standard smile of sadness. Number nine, which is Yim Heng, which is the dry smile. So kana siya dry smile na siya, like you don't have the energy to smile. The number 10 we have Yem Dor Dan, the disagree smile. So kanini siya, this smile indicates that you disagree but will entertain the idea or go along with the action regardless. Number 11 we have Yem Chod. So kana siya di ko aning the bad winner smile. So the smile would be used by a person who has gotten the upper hand over someone. The number 12, we have Yim Susu, the I can't do it smile. So kanisha, this is the encouragement smile that you can do it. Nga imo ra siya mabuhat if someone needs encouragement word pero kay mabuhat so encourage. treatment. Smile na lang imo ihatag. So number 13 we have Yem Mai so kuan the trying smile. So the smile you use when concealing difficult emotion. So kaning 13 different smile of a Thai person kay importante ni siya if moadto ka dito. So these different Thai smile visitors are very often surprised by the ability of Thai people to smile through virtually every situation. So even if ilang smile gani kay like unusual response, then once you have understand nga ingon ana day sila dito mo communicate sa ubang tao kuan sa pamaagi sa smile, then you will be able to read social situations easier and have a better understanding about their Thai culture. So the next reporter will be discussed by my next topic will be discussed by the next reporter. Thank you, ma'am.
So, I am Catherine K. Badon. So, this is about the Thai literature. So, Thai literature was traditionally heavily influenced by Indian culture. So, this Thailand's national epic is a version of Ramayana called Ramakien. So, the first piece of literature was the stone inscription of King Ramakheng. So, in 1942, Thailand changed its government from a monarchy to a democratic system in which authors began to step outside of the narrow limits they had set for novels that were written. So, in the late 1950s to early 1960s, politics were in a dark age after World War II. So, in this resulting in the restriction of press freedom. So, some of the most famous writers in Thailand include Yak Hop and M.R. Kramo. So, the number of versions of the epic were lost in the destruction of Ayutthaya in 1767. So, next slide, taan na yan. Next slide. So also, there are three versions currently exist in Thai literature. One of these was prepared under the supervision of King Rama. So his son, King Rama II, rewrote some parts of the court drama. The main differences from the original are the one extended role for the monkey god Humaman and the addition of the a happy ending. So, in early Thai literature was primarily concerned with religion and until the mid of 19th century was in verse form. So, in this Thai verse was written inclusively by the aristocracy of royalty and educated classes able to do so. So one of the most important Thai literature works in Ramakien was the uniquely Thai version of Indian epic. So it is also have the longest of the three present version was written in 1978 by the first Chakri King Rama I and a group of intimates who incorporated Thai and Buddhist elements into preserve the oral knowledge of Atuyata state rites and traditions. So King Rama II composed two episodes of Ramakien for classical drama purpose and wrote several other epic poems. So this includes the Inao, a romance with Japanese background. So the Inao is a treasure trove of historical information on early 19th century. So Thai costumes, habits, and manners are figures in this repertoire of classical drama. So another major Thai literature figure was the Sultan Fu in 1986 to 1855. So a patriotic genius and well-beloved commoner, Sultan Fu
written well in common language about the common feelings and the common folk. So, easily understood by all classes, his works become widely accepted. So, his major works were Pra-Apay-Mani and Romantic Adventure, the nine narratives mostly written during a pre-marriage associating romantic memories with the places he visited in central and eastern Thailand. So both of both of King Rama the Fifth and King Rama the Sixth were also distinguished writers whose creatively contained the rich intellectual heritage in several processes of verse form. So among the outstanding literature works of King Rama the Fifth were Ngopa and well known as collection of Cliban or Far Away from Home. So on his journey to Europe in 1906 to 1907 was well-known works of King Rama the Sixth were Atana Pata, Paranon Kamun Luang, and several periodic articles entitled Moang Tai Chong, Ton Toyot, and Wake Up of All Tai. So, an outstanding writers and scholars was Pia Anoman Rahadhon, who was born in 1888 and died on 1969. So, ayun sa next slide. So it is interested in all aspects of Thai culture. So from language to folklore, Pa Anuman wrote dozens of books such as the subjects and several as an inspiration to numerous younger Thai. So who are now prominent in academic field. So moving in the modern age, about 19 onward, most of the Thai's readers are well occupied with the work of Dak Sod. So she was a novelist in the pioneering age. So it is her best known works were the Pudi Nong Nai Roy and Nit Chakana Kong Loang Naruban and also other works. So many of her works have been assigned as books for external reading for students and to the secondary and tertiary levels of education today. So next slide, please. So this topic will be discussed with my co-reporter.
So good morning, everyone. I am Riza. Who is reporting on Champun under Thai literature?
Bornales, ma'am.
Kung ano man nga sa Agman. Garambol mo. Okay. So good morning, everyone. I am Riza F. Chua for the continuation of our report. Today I will be discussing my part, which is all about Indian literature. Next slide, please. So Indian literature is generally believed to be the oldest in the world, with vast cultural diversities. There are around 2 dozen officially recognized languages in India. Over thousands of years, huge literature has been produced in various languages in India, and it is to be noted that a large part of Indian literature revolves around the devotions, drama, poetry, and songs. And Sanskrit language dominated the early Indian literary scene. Now, in spite of having an interrupted history of 200 years, Indian literature, in fact, there are written in 22 officially recognized major languages and countless tribal languages and foreign languages like Persian, English, French, and Portuguese. So the many-faceted literary output of India constitutes one of the richest achievements of mankind in the world. So a huge body of written literature is complemented by a huger body of oral texts still being produced in tribal languages of the subcontinent. So Indian writings in Evragen, um, sorry for that, writings in every genre of creative writing are flourishing and making new breakthroughs. So it was during the anti-colonial struggle that modern Indian literature came of age. So Indians then started looking at themselves and the rest of the world with their eyes chastened of colonial education. So in order to keep pace with the other developed literature of the world and to enrich the literary scene with Western influences, they created new genres of literature unknown to the past. So these are the fiction, essay, lyrical poetry, drama, criticism, literary history, and these forms, so true borrowed from uh, West, were refashioned to suit Indian needs. Now, apart from revolution in forms, um, the substance of writing underwent a sea change. So the increasing pace of industrialization and urbanization exposed literary imagination to the city experience. So this impact of the impact of this is the science and rationalism invented writers to critique institutions and practices that would not stand up to the rational scrutiny. The conventions became targets of attack. So the otherworldly concerns of pre-modern literature gave way on increasing um, about the actual world around. So apart from pulling down the old gods, so Indian creativity invented new gods, the chief of whom was a man in society and the nature. So that will be my part. I will now give the virtual report to my group members. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. I am John Marie Bigasipongan for today. I am tasked to give you the brief summary of the two India's greatest epics, which are the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Next slide, please. So, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata are two of India's greatest epics that have influenced the Hindu way of thinking and belief system. The two epics are believed to be partially based on historical events and considered to be itihasa in Sanskrit, which means historical text. Even though they are two different stories, there are many similarities that can be found between the two as they share a similar historical and cultural background. Both Ramayana and Mahabharata are epics written in the form of poems and took place in ancient Hindu kingdoms of the Indian subcontinent. So, the Ramayana brief summary. The word Ramayana literally means the journey of Rama. It is a story of the triumph of good over evil that is shown through the victory of Rama, who defeated the demon Ravana who had abducted his wife. So Rama is perceived as the ideal man in Hindu culture. He is portrayed as loyal, dutiful, righteous, courageous, wise, strong, and even handsome. So Rama was born as the eldest of the sons of the king of the Kosala kingdom. However, due to turmoil in the family relationships, he was exiled for 14 years. As a dutiful son, he willingly went on exile with his wife Sita and his younger brother Lakshmana. During the exile, Sita was abducted by Ravana, the demon king of Lanka. In his search for Sita, Rama befriended Hanuman, a monkey human god who was a great help to the prince. Finally, they were able to defeat Ravana through a fierce battle and save Sita. However, this was not the end of the story as Sita had to prove her chastity by walking through fire before Rama was willing to take her back. Fortunately, with the help of the gods, she was able to do so and remained unharmed. So next is the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is essentially the story of the rivalry between two bands of brothers in the Hastinapura kingdom, which culminates in a great battle. So the Pandavas are the five sons of the rightful king of the Hastinapura kingdom. His eldest two sons were Yudhishthira and Arjuna. On the other hand, the Kauravas and the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, who is Pandu's blind elder brother. So the eldest of the Kauravas So the eldest of the Kauravas is Duryodhana, who is the main antagonist in the story. Duryodhana lives against Dharma and is portrayed as greedy, jealous, and evil. In the story, Duryodhana invited the Pandavas to a game of dice where the Yudhishthira staked everything and lost. Consequently, the Pandavas then had to go on exile for a total of 13 years, during which they prepared themselves for war. At the end of the exile, the Pandavas and the Kauravas gathered their allies and went to war against each other. So that's the brief summary of the both epics, which is the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. So next slide. This slide would be reported by Mr. Chris Distrito.
Okay, so um good morning everyone. So my topic is about the wedding dance, but it seems to me that there are no pictures like akong gipas. So I'll be discussing na lang about the wedding dance by Philippines na siya sa mga. Okay, so the wedding dance. Um The Wedding Dance by Amador Daggio tells the tale of Awiwai and Lumnay, a couple who have been together for 7 years. Awiwai feels the urge to be married again despite being in love. Awiyaw. Awiyaw feels the urge to be married again despite being in love with his wife in order to have son. At second son, marriage celebration, Awiyaw goes to check on Lumnay, knowing she is upset. Awiyaw thought um the answer to Lumnay's sorrow would be have her join the other women during the wedding dance. Lumnay was in fact at his wedding but left. She could not stand the idea of her husband marrying another woman because she could not give him children. Okay, so the background of the wedding dance is Awiyaw and Lumnay most likely to belong to the Igorot people who inhabit the mountain areas of Luzon, the largest island in the Philippines. The Philippine island were settled by various migrants from Southeast Asia for centuries. These people these peoples built up a number of different cultures and clan-based social structures on the many islands of the archipelago. In the 1500s, Spain colonized the island, spreading Christianity and Spanish languages. And following Spain's loss in the Spanish-American War of 1898, the Philippines became a territory of the United States. During World War II, the islands were occupied by the Japanese until gaining their independence in 1945. The Igorot people maintained many of their traditional cultural practices through the late 19th century. Even today, dance and gangsa music from an important part of their celebration. Um, view the videos to get the sense of the gangsa sound and the Kalinga wedding dance feature in the wedding dance by Amader Dagyo. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Oh,
Okay, so
wait. Um, so, um, balik na lang, balik. Okay, so, since wala na butang ang kuan, ma'am, so, ang wedding dance kay gi-invent na kuan na siya ni Amador Dagyo. So, Amador Dagyo was born in Ilocos. Ay, kana siya. Turam. Okay. So, next slide. Next slide, please. Amador Dagyo was born Amador Dagyo was born in the Ilocos province of the Philippines in 1912. He began writing in poetry in high school and published his first poem before he graduated. Throughout his career, he taught at a number of schools in the Philippines and also worked as a lawyer, editor, reporter, and public relations officers for the Filipino government. In his writing, Daguio seeks to establish a pure Filipino voice distinct from its colonizers. Even in English, Daguio's writing is Filipino in essence. The wedding dance he draws upon the culture of his ancestors to explore Filipino traditions along with the universal themes of love, suffering, and societal expectations. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now let's go on to the beyond
Okay,
forgetting.
okay. We will continue that next meeting. For the Champun, rules of the game, Mahabharata, wedding dance, please analyze them based on elements of a short story. Then, so, like brief summary, I think you already gave the brief summary. What you need to do next is the elements, based on the elements. You know the elements of short story? Did you remember in your LIT1? No?
Yes.
Oh, oh, inyo nang ikwan. Especially, um, like the characters, the point of view, plot. The plot, introduction or the exposition, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the resolution or the denouement of the story, so that um, your listeners, your classmates could understand well what the story is all about. Okay? So you will have the poem by Rolando Carbonell. Sa last na siya. After, unya na siya ha, or pwede po na siyang imong isumpay first, then balik ta sa kuan ha, katong mga short stories nga inyong di kuan. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Sige. Okay, so please turn on your camera. Thank you for the message. Um, I'm so thankful for that. Thank you for um, the honor. No, no teachers if there are no students. Okay, diba? Um, teachers, teachers teach. No, like you will develop the different professionals in the future. Lawyer, doctor, unsa pa ka diha. Wala na sila without that teacher. So, thank you for the greetings. Okay. Okay, thank you for joining and see you. I will send you module, worksheet na. Yeah, module number 1. Module number 1. Para kuan. Nara kasi inyo, Alain?
Yes,
Lalain,
ma'am.
nara kasi inyo?
Yes, ma'am.
Doon na kami anang Lalain. Walking distance. Okay, so thanks for joining and bye. Thank you, thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Goodbye, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.